Hi everyone, welcome back to Rabbi's Reflection. I'm glad that you're joining with us today. We'll be continuing in our reading of Kitchen Table Wisdom by Dr. Naomi Remen and reading the story The Meeting Place. Stay with us as we read through the story and then offer some reflections. The places where we are genuinely met and heard have great importance to us. Being in them may remind us of our strength and our value in ways that many other places we may pass through do not. My medical partner, who had never been ill a day in his life, died suddenly of a massive heart attack at 56. He was a consummate healer and a magnificent friend, and he left both his colleagues and his patients bereft. For weeks we numbly went through papers and made referrals for the many people who called in, many of them weeping. Finally, the last details were attended to, and we settled down to a future without Hal. Then the patients started coming. For almost a year afterwards, several times a week, I would open the door of my office and find one of Hal's patients sitting in the common waiting room. At first I would worry that they didn't know about Hal, and I would have to tell them, but they all knew. They had just come to the place where they had experienced his listening, his special way of seeing and valuing them, just to sit there for a bit, perhaps to think about difficult decisions which currently face them. Many patients came. It was terribly, terribly moving. It made me angry with Hal for tending every life so impeccably, except his own. Another colleague, who is the head of the Department of Family Medicine at one of the East Coast's outstanding medical schools, tells a story about one of his patients. The patient was a homeless woman whose possessions fit into 2 shopping carts. Once a month, she would bring these up the steep hill to his clinic by lashing them alternately to the parking meters with a belt. First, she would tie one, then wheel the other to the next meter uphill, tie it, go back for the first one, untie it, and wheel it to the meter above the second until both she and the 2 carts were at the clinic's front door. He saw her once a month on a Wednesday. Her speech was sometimes rambling, and her clothing was filthy and eccentric. This deeply kind and respectful man was not troubled by this. With his usual grave courtesy, he welcomed her into his consulting room, listened to the details of her difficult life, and did what he could to ease her burden. After he had been seeing her for some time, he became aware that she sometimes came to the hospital on days when he was not there. The clinic nurses were puzzled by this at first, as she seemed to know in some mysterious way that it was not her day to see the doctor. After talking with her, they determined that she simply wanted to go to his consulting room. Once there, she did not go in, but would stand on the threshold and slowly and deliberately place her right foot inside the empty room and then withdraw it again and again. After a while, she would be satisfied and go away again. The places in which we are seen and heard are holy places. They remind us of our value as human beings. They give us the strength to go on. Eventually, they may even help us to transform our pain into wisdom. I wonder what that type of meeting place was. Can you think of a meeting place for you? A place in your life when you felt heard, when you felt seen, when someone felt like they were actually listening to you, seeing you, really valuing you for who you are. These can be special places. As Dr. Remen says, these can be holy places. Not these can, these are holy places. I think sometimes we often think of holy places with ritual. Perhaps that holy place is in a sanctuary. But what Dr. Remen is helping us notice and kind of expand our mindset or our outlook is that these places could happen anywhere. They could happen inside of a doctor's office. They could happen in a particular space, wherever it might be. And I think that's something that we should hold on to. perhaps in remembering and reflecting on our life and honoring those places, whatever they might be, but also in a sense of being able to cultivate that for someone else. Know that the place that you're in when you might encounter someone else can be a holy space, if only we see and we hear the other person, we value them for who they are. So that's my short reflection for today, is can we transform ordinary or mundane or even perhaps sometimes difficult places into places that can become holy, places that can be suffused with thought, with feeling, with connection, with actually valuing and seeing the other person. And as Dr. Remen concludes, then we can actually take what could be a place of challenge and bring it to a place of blessing. Have a great week, everyone.